Hey, so yesterday we learned about this beautiful French opaline. The dog's bombing my video. Okay, yesterday we learned about this beautiful opaline French hand-painted enameled box. And today we are going to find out more about some other kind of antique that I've never collected before. And it's a first for me. And we're going to ask AI about it. Maybe artificial intelligence can tell us more about my collectible. So I'm going to cut a trap door and we'll do this in fast motion. I don't usually go for this, and why is that? Because I like big, big and chunky pieces, right? I like thick antiques. And this is not thick, but what intrigued me to it was that it had a portrait miniature, and believe it or not, the most loveliest thing of it all was the box. And you're like, a box? A jewelry box? Yeah, it's very hard to find Victorian jewelry or antique jewelry with its original box. And when I spied this with my little eye, would have buy it now, I made an offer. Because why? Because I'm cheap. And I try to get everything for cheaper because I couldn't even afford the buy it now price. It was too high. And surprisingly enough, by the way, this was once velvet. Look at that. You can see the age. The velvet, or the velveteen, which is on this side, has worn off. So this is once a beautiful velvet, purple velvet, my favorite color, jewelry box. But I love the fact that it has its original box. Now, if I did not see this with the box, I wouldn't have bought it. All right, so it's smaller than I thought. Ugh. All right, I paid a little bit over $50 for this. And then, you got to pay shipping and all that other crap. You know what I'm saying? Tax always gets you. So let's see. Oh, okay, inside, I'm not going to look at it yet. Victor A. Engstrom, jeweler, Evanstown, Wyoming. Look at that. We can do some research. I love research. And I know you guys are hitting the back button by now. All right, get to it, girl. Ooh, okay, look at this. Look at that. Oh, the little piece. This is a safety mechanism. Came off of this. Oh, I guess it wouldn't fit in here, so the guy put it in separate. Okay, hold on. I'm going to pull this out. Now, I don't collect these at all. These are stick pins or hat pins or whatever you want to call them. Just going to, how do you get, oh my God, I can't even see what I'm doing. That's how, like, tiny these things are. And how does this go on? I don't know. I'll be back. Oh, okay, I figured it out. You just push it on. It's like almost like a trombone clasp. When you push it, this little knob comes out and it locks it in place. But what I liked about it was I don't know if you can see this, the Limoges type woman, the foil kiln fired type of thing. Now I'm going to get a loop out. I'm going to actually look at it. It's probably silver, probably European silver. Now I see a lot of these in solid gold. Sometimes solid gold mixed with silver. They're not always solid gold, but I see a lot of these. Now, the gold ones, I'm seeing them go in the $500 to $1,500 price range when I was doing my research. Not going to be able to afford that. The silver ones were in the $500 price range if it was a true Limoges piece. Now, is it a true Limoges piece? I'm going to look for markings, and I'll be right back. Surprisingly, I could not find any markings, unless they're usually very tiny. But let's go, like, what I really think is amazing about this. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see. Let me try to zoom in. But look at do you see the workmanship on her breasts? Well, on her upper clothing area. Hold on, let me just put my camera on a tripod. All right, put my flash on. Wow, my camera is just garbage. So we can see this better. And I'm just going to put this down in here. Okay, do you see that? I'm trying to straighten this out for us. But look at the beauty. Now, I just noticed things I didn't notice before. You see the gold foil? I'm just going to try to pull this up. Look at the gold foil. I mean, actually, green foil. Emerald colored foil in the corners. Is that any kind of gem? I don't know. It could be the foil, like I mentioned. They use like some kind of metallic foil. Hold on, my camera's just being a bit of a jerk. Wow, look at that. Okay, this really, I mean, it has a light scratch on it. In person, you don't even barely notice it. But look at that. Do you see that? And the portrait is so micro and so mini that this is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Well, let's make it like one of the 8 wonders of the world. How did they do this? Let's find out more. We're going to ask AI. I'm going to have AI investigate this product. And we're going to ask AI to tell us more about kiln-fired Limoges pieces. Stick pins, by the way, are highly collectible. I'm just going to place this down in the box. They're highly collectible, although I never had one in my collection. They never appealed to me. Now, there's people that collect them. Really collect them, and they just never appealed to me. I never liked them, and the reasoning is behind it is because they're too small for me. I like chunky pieces of jewelry, like I said earlier. Yeah, not interested in them at all. There's people that just do nothing but collect stick pins, antique stick pins, and Art Deco, Edwardian, Victorian, and before stick pins. Now, where would this would have gone? Probably on an ascot or, like a little scarf, like lace doily around the neck, the throat area, or probably in the front of the dress. I don't think it was a hat pin. We also have that safety feature so you don't lose the pin. thus why we still have it today. Now, I did a little research on this jeweler, and this jeweler was operating since, well, he was a jeweler in the 1870s. He was an apprentice for another jeweler in the Wyoming area, and he ended up buying out when the jeweler died. He died suddenly. Who he worked for, he died suddenly. He took over his jewelry business. So starting in 1893, he took over this jewelry business, and he himself died in 1914. So that leaves this piece to be made between 1893 and 1914. So we can try to pin down, get it? No pun intended, pin down an approximate estimated age. All right, so I found similar, well, not identical, but similar to these kiln-fired little miniature portrait stick pins. And you can see these are not cheap when they're 14 karat gold. Unfortunately, mine wasn't. This one says 18 karat and 9 karat gold, Limoges enamel stick pin. Now, mine does have the gold wash on the back, but look at the beauty of these pieces. This one is 566.10. Look at that. 566.10. Yeah, I don't have that type of money. Do you? Write one in the comments below if you can afford this. And here's some other kiln-fired pieces. This one's a lovely pendant. 235 doll hairs, sterling silver. Look at the workmanship in the dress. I mean, whoever did this is amazing. The Limoges wasn't a brand, by the way. It was an area of France that did this sort of thing. They had factories producing lots of porcelain. They got into this kiln-fired type of things. It wasn't just jewelry. Well, it was around for hundreds of years, this kiln-fired type of stuff. Oh, and here we have another one. And Lang Antiques. Yeah, did you ever go on their site? If you collect antique jewelry, you'll be drooling. And I can't afford any of their things. Yeah, $2,350 for a portrait pin, little miniature. This one is absolutely stunning. I think it has diamonds in it. Yes, it does. And gold. And it says, you can't afford this. No, a doe-eyed beauty in profile and habillet, French for dress, with a tiara and necklace twinkling with rose-cut diamonds. It's beautifully rendered in Limoges-style enamel against the white backdrop. This striking portrait framed in brightly burnished 18-karat gold, hand-painted, enameled, and fabricated circa 1890. It measures just over 1 inch in diameter. Would you pay $2,350 for a brooch that's less than 1 inch in diameter? Nope. Nah. I'd find something way chunkier and bigger. And here's on First Fibs. Write in the comments below, yes, if you have seen the website First, I call it Fibs, Dibs. Their prices are so overpriced, and they get the price for it. Look at these kiln-fired pieces. $4,500 for a little 1 inch little brooch. Oh, $1,375. Well, this one does have sapphires and diamond, but it's tiny. It's possibly only like half of an inch. Look, and there's more. $574 for gilt metal, not even real gold or anything. Limoges kiln-fired piece. Here's another one. $8,241 for this tiny 1 inch brooch, circa 1915 with diamonds. First Fibs. They don't price things normally. It's priced for the rich and famous.
This piece is a classic example of a hand-painted enamel portrait miniature, likely dating from the * late Victorian, c. 1880 to early Edwardian, circa 1910, * era. Based on your description and the history of such pieces, here is a breakdown of what you have. 1. Is it a Limoges kiln-fired enamel? Yes, it is almost certainly kiln-fired enamel, often referred to broadly as Limoges style. The process. Unlike watercolor on ivory miniatures, these were created by painting finely ground glass, enamel, onto a metal base, usually copper, and firing it in a kiln at high temperatures. Each color required a separate firing. Limoges versus others. While Limoges, France was the world center for this art, similar high-quality work was produced in Switzerland, Germany, and England during the 19th century enamel revival. If it isn't signed by a French artist, it is likely a high-quality European import that was sold by prominent American jewelers. Vermeil and silver. You mentioned a silver shank and vermeil, gold-plated silver on the back. This combination was very common in the late 19th century. High-end jewelers used silver gilt because it was more affordable than solid gold, but still provided a luxurious, tarnish-resistant finish for the portrait's frame. 3. The jeweler, V.A. Engstrom, Evanston, Wyoming. The original box from a Wyoming jeweler adds incredible provenance. Victor A. Engstrom was a pioneer jeweler in Evanston, Wyoming, active from the late 1800s until his death in 1914. Pioneer history. Engstrom arrived in Wyoming in 1873 and was one of the first settlers in Evanston. He took over the business of the city's pioneer jeweler, W.H. Parpe. The market small-town jewelers like Engstrom typically didn't manufacture the enamel portraits themselves. Instead, they would purchase the high-quality enamel plaques from European artisans and set them into custom or stock frames, like your stick pin, to sell to wealthy local clientele or travelers. 4. Historical context. During the late Victorian period, there was a fascination with the 18th century Grand Feu style. These miniatures often depicted idealized women or beauties in 1700s style clothing. Because the enamel is glass-based, these portraits never fade. which is why yours likely still looks as vibrant as the day it was made. Era: late Victorian, early Edwardian, circa 1885 to 1910. Material: hand-painted kiln-fired enamel on copper, silver gilt, vermeil, setting. Artist: likely a European enamelist. Unsigned miniatures were common. Retailer: V.A. Engstrom, Evanston, Wyoming. A prominent pioneer-era jeweler. Based on your description of the silver with vermeil setting, the kiln-fired enamel technique, and especially the original jeweler's box from V.A. Engstrom, you have a very desirable collector's piece. While solid gold versions do command the highest prices, 800 minus 2,000 plus, silver and vermeil, gilt silver. Examples with high-quality enamel work are currently performing very well in the antique market. Estimated market value for a late Victorian/early Edwardian hand-painted enamel stick pin in a silver gilt vermeil setting. Retail/boutique value, $450 to $750. Why? High-end antique dealers often list these in this range because of the Limoges style craftsmanship and the excellent preservation of the enamel. Private sale/fair market value, $300 to $450. Why? This is the realistic range for a sale between collectors or at a specialized antique show. Auction value, low estimate, $200 to $350. Note: auctions are unpredictable, but the original box provides a floor that prevents it from selling too cheaply. Why the box increases the value? The original box from V.A. Engstrom, Evanston, WY, is a major value add. In the world of antiques, original packaging is more than just a container. It is provenance. 1. The pioneer connection. Victor Engstrom was a significant figure in early Wyoming history. For a collector of Western Americana or Wyoming history, the box alone could be worth 50 minus 100. 2. Authentication. It proves the piece was sold as a high-end luxury item at the turn of the century, rather than being a modern reproduction. 3. Completeness. Collectors will always pay a 20 to 30% premium for a complete set, jewelry plus original box, over the jewelry alone. Key factors influencing your specific price. The subject matter. Profiles of beauties, like yours, are the most traditional. If the lady has a diamond, usually a tiny rose-cut chip, in her necklace or hair, the price jumps by $100 plus. Vermeil wear. You mentioned the shank looks like silver, but the back is vermeil. Slight wear to the gold plating, showing the silver beneath, is expected for a 120-year-old piece, and does. Most of the gold ones do so on the higher end, but the silver or silver with vermeil, missing piece you're looking for. The reason why your silver vermeil pin is so special compared to the standard ones is the historical rarity of the American Western jeweler's box. The Wyoming connection value. While thousands of these pins were made in Europe, only a tiny fraction were sold by pioneer-era jewelers in the American frontier. This transforms your item from a piece of French jewelry into a piece of Western Americana. V.A. Engstrom wasn't just a shop owner, he was a pioneer. He arrived in Evanston in 1873, a time when Wyoming was still a territory. It didn't become a state until 1890. The rare factor. Most survival items from this era are rugged. Tools, spurs, saddles. Finding a delicate high-art Limoges-style pin, sold in a rough-and-tumble railway town like Evanston, is incredibly rare. The price gap. While a silver enamel pin without a box might sell for $200, and a gold one for $600, a silver one with a V.A. Engstrom box could easily reach $500 minus $700 to a Wyoming-specific collector. The box anchors the history. Historical kiln-fired details. Since you asked about the history of this stuff, the art of grand feu, this literally translates to great fire. The artist used a brush made of a single hair to apply glass powders. It was then fired at roughly 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. If the metal cooled too fast, the glass would shatter. The subjects. These are often called beauties. They weren't real people, but idealized versions of 18th century French court ladies. They represented the Gilded Age sentimentality, a longing for elegance during the Industrial Revolution. The setting. The use of vermeil, gold over silver, was a specific choice by jewelers of the late 1800s. It gave the look of high-carat gold without the extreme weight or cost, making these luxury items accessible to the rising middle class in towns like Evanston. Summary of worth. Because you have the Engstrom box, you have a museum-quality set. If you sell the pin alone, you are competing with thousands of French pins. If you sell it as a set, you are selling a piece of Wyoming pioneer history. Summary of your Limoges enamel stick pin. Estimated value, $500 to $700. This is a high-end, hand-painted, kiln-fired enamel stick pin dating from the late Victorian to early Edwardian era, circa 1890 to 1910. While the pin itself is a beautiful example of European craftsmanship, the original V.A. Engstrom jeweler's box significantly elevates its value by connecting it to Wyoming pioneer history. It is extremely rare. Original boxes from the late 1800s were often discarded or worn out over a century of use. Having the original retailer's box from a specific pioneer-era Wyoming jeweler does three things that make it highly collectible. Proves provenance. It confirms exactly where and when the piece was sold, turning it from a generic antique into a documented piece of Western Americana. Increases value. Collectors typically pay a 20% to 50% premium for jewelry that is complete with its original branded presentation box. Historical rarity. While many enamel pins survived, very few survived with the logo of a small-town jeweler like V.A. Engstrom from Evanston, Wyoming. In the world of antique jewelry, the box is often considered a secondary treasure that can be worth 50 minus 100 on its own, but it adds much more when paired with the original pin. Here is the historical context of V.A. Engstrom and the significance of finding a complete set like this. The rarity of the original box. Having the original box is highly rare for a piece from the late 19th or early 20th century. Most jewelry boxes were made of paper, wood, or velvet-covered cardboard and were prone to moisture, fire, or simply being discarded over the last 120 plus years. In the antique market, a branded box from a specific frontier jeweler like V.A. Engstrom acts as a certificate of authenticity. It proves the piece was a luxury item sold to a resident or traveler in Evanston during its early boom years. History of V.A. Engstrom, Evanston, Wyoming. Based on historical records of Wyoming pioneers, Victor A. Engstrom was a significant figure in the development of Evanston. The pioneer jeweler, Victor Engstrom, moved to Evanston in 1873 among the very first settlers. Apprenticing under the city's first jeweler, W. H. Parpe, he eventually took over the business and ran it until his death in 1914. His shop was the leading establishment in that section of the state, known for carrying a large and well-selected line of jewelry and precious stones. The box proves that even in a frontier town, he was sourcing high-art European enamel work for his elite customers. Finding a delicate portrait miniature with the branding of a frontier watchmaker is highly unusual, as most survival items from that era are utilitarian. The box likely dates to the late 1890s when Evanston was a thriving railroad hub, and Victor's son Lawrence was beginning to work in the trade. This specific provenance makes the set a rare crossover collectible that appeals to both antique jewelry enthusiasts and Western history buffs. Given the provenance and the item's condition, your $55 investment was an excellent buy. You've essentially acquired a museum-quality set for a flea market price, for a high-end appraisal. Bottom line, you didn't just buy a pin, you bought a piece of Wyoming history. That story is what pushes the price toward the $750 mark. The reason you see such a drastic price difference between one STDIBs and platforms like eBay, Etsy, or Mercari is that they operate in two completely different economic worlds. When you look at one STDIBs, you aren't just looking at the price of the object, you are looking at a concierge retail model. Here is why those prices sit in the $500 minus $2,000 range, while a savvy buyer, like you, can find the same item for $55. 1. The vetted premium, one STDIBs, only allows professional dealers and galleries to sell. These sellers are often experts, gemologists, historians, or high-end antique dealers who have vetted the item. The high price includes their professional guarantee of authenticity. eBay/Mercari, these are peer-to-peer marketplaces. A seller might be an expert, or they might be someone cleaning out an attic who doesn't know what they have. This creates a bargain hunter's market, where items are sold at wholesale or liquidator prices. 2. High fees and professional overhead. 1 STDIBs. Dealers pay thousands of dollars in monthly membership fees just to have a stall on the site, plus a commission on every sale, often around 15 to 20%. To stay profitable, a dealer must mark up an item significantly. Etsy/eBay. Fees are much lower, usually around 10 to 15% with no massive monthly subscription. Sellers can afford to sell a pin for $100 and still make a profit. 3. The target audience. 1 STDIBs. Their primary customers are interior designers and high net worth collectors who value time over money. A designer with a wealthy client doesn't want to spend 20 hours scouring eBay for a deal. They want to find a perfect museum quality piece immediately, buy it from a trusted source, and have it shipped with insurance and a certificate of authenticity. They pay a 500% markup for that convenience. eBay/Mercari. The audience is usually collectors and resellers. These buyers are looking for the steal. 4. Built-in room to negotiate. On 1 STDIBs, it is industry standard for a dealer to list an item at $1,500, knowing they will likely accept an offer of $900 from a trade professional or a serious collector. The list price is often an aspirational ceiling, not a firm floor. What this means for your $55 investment, you have achieved what every professional antique dealer dreams of. Buying at estate prices, 55, TO, hold AN item with gallery potential, 500 plus. Your pin is a perfect example of this gap. On eBay, it's just a vintage pin. On 1 STDIBs, it would be described as an exquisite 19th century Limoges enamel portrait stick pin, presented in its rare original presentation box from V.A. Engstrom, a noted jeweler of the American West. The object is the same. The story and the venue create the extra $1,000 in value.
Oh my God. All right, guys. When they were saying 1 STB dibs, we all know they were talking about first fibs, aka first dibs. So now we know why the prices are so high on first dibs. By the way, I didn't get to show you the stars. Do you see the stars? All right, we learned something about the people that are selling on first dibs. And what I learned is I used to sell on Etsy, Ruby Lane, and eBay. eBay, scam artist paradise. It was great in the beginning, back in like 99, 2000, 2005, until the scam artists started all moving in. And you cannot sell your stuff for high prices on eBay. I'm telling you right now, if you're a flipper and you're watching my video, do not list it on eBay. If you find it at a thrift store for $5, yeah, I can get it. But if you're going to pay full, like at least $200 for it and then think you're going to flip it for $500 to $750, not going to happen on eBay. I can assure you right now. I stopped selling on eBay once a scammer. I was a power seller for years. A scammer screwed me out of $450 for an antique item. Never again. Then I moved over to Ruby Lane. Ruby Lane was where all the Beverly Hills people were before First Dibs was even a twinkle in the eye of the internet. And I used to get top dollar for my antiques from all the rich people. They didn't want to go scour eBay and the internet like I do. Sometimes it'll take me 3 days of searching over 50 to 100,000 listings just to find one sleeper, where I spend days. And sometimes I get lucky. If I'm lucky, a lucky day is scouring eBay or Mercari or Poshmark or Ruby Lane or Etsy. Well, not Ruby Lane because they know more about their things, but I could spend 8 hours and not find anything. So for me to get this pin for 55 is a big deal to me, not a big deal for other people. But now we see, so the rich people don't have time to do what I do. They don't give a shiz. They're like, I don't care. I'll just pay $1,000 for that instead of looking for the bargain. So we all learned something. And on Etsy, I used to actually get way higher, 50% more money than I used to get on eBay for my same item. So yep, there are tiers of collectors and online selling venues where you would purchase or sell. Wow, I did not know all that information, did you? If you found this video interesting or at least slightly entertaining, please write a yes in the comments below. I'd like to know who watches to the end. If you watch to the end, give yourself a thumbs up along with me. So we got an early piece of Wyoming Frontier jewelry with the original box, which makes it even rare. We found out that original boxes increase the value of antique jewelry. We found out many things. We found out about these European ladies that were little kiln-fired enamel pins or brooches and jewelry pendants. We found out about Victor Engstrom. We found out about that. I did not know that Wyoming was not a state, a U.S. state, until 1890. Hey, we learned something. T-I-L. Today I learned. Oh, that's it. Don't write yes, right? T-I-L in the comments below if you stayed to the end and learned something. Thanks for watching. Wow, and I did not know that this would be worth $500 to $750 because of the box and the early frontier pioneer history.